Yes, streaming?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
It should be fine.
Okay. And so hopefully that technical thing was sorted out. They should be streaming. And what we have to do is, as we develop in spirituality and the wisdom of Kabbalah, is this new sense, something that we called previously the sixth sense. So this study will actually would have actually brought an understanding as to how things are going forward in developing that sixth sense, because in our five corporeal senses we live at an animate level, and as we discussed, like all animals die, we die off as well. And contrary to religion, the wisdom of Kabbalah says, well, listen, if you really end up dying without really fulfilling the purpose of life, you're really not going to get anything after you die. So the purpose of this life is to actually attain everything while living and existing in this reality. So it's a very, very fundamental outlook, which is very different to all the other religions and philosophies out there. So hopefully the 3 semesters would have summed up for you what the wisdom of Kabbalah is, how to study it, what it talks about, and how to apply it with a group of people. And now we've come to this last lesson, concluding it all with what to do now. Okay, so that is the big question, Johnny.
Well, yeah, Mutlu, use very, very important words that you said there. But one of the things that I love about the wisdom, if I can share this, is that we can apply it to our day-to-day lives.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not something that's theory. It's how to basically conduct your life and live your life according to the laws of nature.
Absolutely.
In a very obviously we're living in this world. We've got to work, family, make a living, etc., etc. But definitely over time we can actually look at things through a different lens.
So it's actually a way to bring everything together, actually. That's what the wisdom of Kabbalah is, because mostly people say, this is your corporeality, this is your spirituality. And when you start off the wisdom of Kabbalah, it's also that way as well. You've got a corporeal level of existence, which you obviously need to continue, okay, because you can't kind of get out of it. And then you have this spiritual development that you're adding to your life with the wisdom of Kabbalah. But what happens, and which is really interesting, is as time goes by, these 2 seemingly separate things start to really come together, and this it just makes one path rather than 2 separate concepts. It just fits into this nice little merging. And through that, actually, you can understand your corporeality, which is your corporeal existence, but also your internality. And if you look at the world today in the 21st century, a lot of people are in depression. We have a lot of violence, people break up, split up, and all these kind of things that are really dividing people. And we're constantly going from one economic crisis to another, from one war to another, from one natural disaster to another. And even as we speak, Australia, unfortunately, is going through a really horrific period. And we're actually both also Australian, by the way, if you don't know. Me and Jonathan started out studying both in Sydney, Australia. So we're actually both from Australia as well. So it's really heartbreaking for us to see what's going on in Australia with all the calamities of natural disasters. However, though, what we really need to focus on here is that these things will not end. And this is what the wisdom of Kabbalah is really trying to explain to us. It's telling us, listen, the world cannot get better until humanity starts to get better. And as we learned in our previous lessons, because of our increasing, in fact, not just increasing ego, but this really rotting ego, mutating ego is really, wrecking the whole planet, wrecking our relationships, wrecking our lives, and it's really bringing a lot of havoc to our lives because we just don't know how to deal with our nature. And because we don't know how to deal with our nature, the kids are all on drugs. Millennials are on, what was that? Antidepressant. Anyway, they're all on antidepressants. And the young kids are all vaping, this new trend, vaping. and on drugs. Now cannabis is all legal around the world. And that's it. Then you got violence, alcohol abuse, all kinds of substance abuses, simply because we do not know and understand how to manage our lives, how to bring our corporeal life and our spiritual life together. We just don't know how to reconcile it. And this lack of understanding and this lack of reconciliation is obviously really pushing us to destroy ourselves and the planet. So we've come to a very special period in human development.
I just want to say something just to add to what you said here, Mutlu. One of the beautiful things about the wisdom of Kabbalah is that a person, in my perspective, becomes more of an aware human being.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which means they get to understand what drives things in this world, why people are behaving the way they're behaving. Everything comes from the ego. Mm-hmm. So you can look at things even from sort of a really higher perspective, a different perspective, mm-hmm. and see and be more understanding, more compassionate, even more patient.
Absolutely,
because you can understand, like in relationships, why this person gets angry, that person gets angry, or at work, why a manager may put pressure on you, because it's all driven by the ego ultimately, and everyone wants to make themselves look good, make themselves feel better. But once you know that, in a psychological perspective and how you look at situations, you can deal with situations a lot better. Because it's more, in normal life, we go head on into situations. Mm-hmm. And we don't know how to do, and it's like head on, bang, bang, mm-hmm. no results. But when you're above here and the stuff's coming here, you can understand it's coming here and you can sort of let it go potentially, mm-hmm. and you can deal and you can sort of wave through things at this level.
Absolutely, because you've got your management tools.
Correct.
Okay, so you've got your understanding.
Exactly.
There. And because you have understanding,
yep.
What really happens is you understand where it's coming from and you stop taking it personally.
That's right.
You just don't deal with it personally anymore, because you're looking at it from an objective point of view. It's not a personal thing, simply because laws of nature in humanity and in our corporeal life, just laws of nature are really doing its job.
And a desire to receive an ego is given from above, and people mm-hmm. are developing, and they're not haven't come to the wisdom. They haven't got a point in the heart. They haven't not ready for something else.
They're living at an animate level.
Exactly.
So just like you can't get mad at a cat or a dog on the street for meowing or barking or whatever. So there's really not any point in getting mad at anybody on the street. So what's really important here is that the wisdom of Kabbalah gives us an understanding of how to manage life and how to understand it, how to see it from a higher level of consciousness, so that this lack of consciousness that we had before, that was causing us suffering because we didn't know why we were going through such things in life. Why is this happening to me? It's the most famous question in the world is, why me? Well, why not, damn it? Why are you so special? So nobody's special. Everybody's going through turmoil, and it's a necessity to go through turmoil, simply because it allows a person to ask that magical question, why me? And what is the meaning of my life? And humanity is coming there. Unfortunately, the bad way. Okay, just like, I specifically mentioned Australia because we're really saddened by it and everything. We have family there, even if we didn't have a family there, even if we weren't Australian and we didn't know anybody there either, it's still really heartbreaking when you see a country, a people, the whole world actually. Australia is part of the planet. It's not like somewhere out in space. Although it is down under somewhere far, it's, we're all in an integral system. So when something really bad happens in a country, in Australia, or whether in Africa, in Asia, America, it doesn't matter where, Europe, Middle East, it really affects everyone. All of a sudden we're all having a bad day, even though, I've got a lot of friends, they're not Australian, and they're just sharing all these, sad events on Facebook, and saying how sorry they are about all this, because we're all connected. So we can't really say that we're disconnected from Australia or any other part of the planet for anything. But what really needs to be understood as a student of Kabbalah is very, very, very simple. Very simple. And this is what you should have gotten from this course specifically, is that there is a purpose to creation. And until we as humanity come to that purpose, life will not get better, no matter how positive you think about it. I know there are a lot of methods out there. Think positive, things will be good. I'll give you a guarantee right now. You can think as positively as you want. Things are not going to get better. And I don't want to say this in a mean or a bad way. Because as a student of Kabbalah, we're looking at it from the outside. We're not looking at it from a personal perspective, but from a specific understanding that a child has to grow. Your child can't come up to you and say, you know what, I'm 7 years old, everything is great and I don't want to grow up anymore. That's just not going to happen. It's not. So there is no going back to the past. There's only a way forward for humanity, and that way forward is really to start understanding our nature and how to actually, instead of this ego controlling us, how we can actually be above this ego and how we can maintain its reins and really be an integral society so that the whole world can come to a balance. If we don't do this voluntarily, it's like a kid being naughty all the time. Okay, so voluntarily, he's not being a good kid, and you have to shake him up a little bit, so he understands that this is the way to behave properly, and what he's doing right now is unacceptable. And this is how nature is treating us. So although we don't understand what this problem is, because we can all look at ourselves and say, well, I'm not doing anything bad to the world. It's true. But as a complete integral society, if you add us all up, we are doing bad. And that collective force, even though we are one or we are many who are not doing much bad to the world, if a part of us is really not developing, then the world is hammering all of us. So if you think of the whole of reality as one body, and if I have an ache in my toe, in some small part of my foot, my whole body is feeling it. It's not like just my toe, but I'm irritated with it all day. And it's in my head, it's like irritating, I can't focus, I can't do anything. Why? It's a small part of the body, but it's just causing you aggravation.
Just to further what you're saying here, Mutlu, another great things about the wisdom is, over time, I think all the students will get to feel this, is that a person naturally, the level of importance they place on certain things in their life is perhaps lower than when they were at the wisdom, before they came to the wisdom. For example, chasing money or chasing honor or chasing all these
corporeal desires.
You can test it out on yourselves. Everyone can, that's not a problem. But you feel slowly that I feel that I don't have that huge drive for these corporal needs, because I have more of a desire to connect with the friends.
Absolutely.
And a higher level of desire to go, above the body and put more of the effort into it.
Absolutely, because you're growing up, John.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
But that's one of the beautiful things here, is that the importance shifts slowly from things of this world to things of higher level of the upper world.
That's a good point, because what happens is, just to touch base there, it's like our growth in corporeality. It's like we're growing up in the family. So you're a kid, you've got toys. But as you grow up, you're not playing with those toys anymore. You just don't have a desire for them anymore. Why? Because they're just irrelevant for you now. So what the wisdom of Kabbalah does is really mature you up. It just brings you an understanding of what this reality really is about. And as you grow up, what really happens is you just look at your previous life and you're just not interested in those toys anymore. Because, you know, how many times can you play with the same toy? You're just going to get bored. And this is why we keep developing everything in life. Why? Because we're bored. So we develop new things to, you know, add a bit more spice to our lives. But we're also coming to an end of that period as well. So the wisdom of Kabbalah is now very, very important for anyone who's soul searching, for anyone who wants to understand why they're not happy, why they can't be happy the way they're living. It's impossible for humanity to be happy in the current form of existence. It's just not possible. In our first few lessons, we learned that the desire and the pleasure, they cancel each other out. No matter what I go out and get in life, at the end of the day, if I get what I want, the desire and the pleasure, they cancel each other out. I'm left with running after something else. So our whole life is pretty much a waste. It just goes by chasing silly things for a drop of happiness. When in fact, we can have a greater deal of happiness if we understand the purpose of life and if we move towards it. Actually, I must admit to myself as well, you know, when you come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, you know, learning all this thing is one thing. It gives you a lot of pleasure learning and knowing and understanding why you've had all these problems before, you know, why you weren't happy. Because, you know, we had everything to be happy. Good jobs, careers, families, and so forth. So when you have everything, and everything is going great for you, exactly like how you planned it, you know, and you're still not happy, you got this big question mark in your hand. Well, I did everything, and I've got a good job, I've got a good family, good career, everything is like working out fine, but, you know, I'm still just not happy. And this leads to that question, why I'm not happy. And this is why we need to learn the laws of nature. In our current nature, we cannot be happy simply because of this one formula. Desire and pleasure short-circuit each other. It'll be just nullify each other out. So it's very important for us to understand this. And this is actually allowing us to grow up.
Absolutely.
So not running after many things. Why?
Sure.
Because we understand that those are now toys for us. Okay, and this will happen to everyone. This happens to anyone who studies the wisdom of Kabbalah. They just grow up. It's really interesting to see.
I just wanted to share with the friends here, and also I think you were in the lesson as well. A couple of days, I mean, we're both from Australia, and you were talking about those really tough fires over there. And it's really, really sad to see what's going on in the country. You know, over 1 million animals got killed.
500 million.
Right, and people, all communities lost their homes, etc. And it's really tragic in terms of things of this world. And I asked Rav this question. I asked him in a lesson. I wanted to get his view on it, a Kabbalistic type of view on it, and his answer to me was quite tough. He's saying, listen, you know, the people over there need to think more about us and less about themselves. So ultimately they need to develop and become more altruistic. Mm-hmm. And he said the whole purpose of these fires, and when you've got a Kabbalist, they look at things from the level of the forces, okay, learn the level of this world. He said the whole purpose of the fires is to soften up the heart. So people start feeling each other, they start considering each other, and they start like connecting with each other, etc., etc. And it's very, very true.
Absolutely.
You know, Australia is a very, very corporal type of existence.
Absolutely. It was actually quite nice when we were there, John. We must admit. I must admit, Australia.
But that's the lesson. You know, nature gives us all these blows to become, in inverted commas, more human. And you know, a lot of people have passed away, and a lot of land has been lost, etc., etc. So you look at the accounts of this world, it's a very tough result. But in terms of spirituality, the whole reason for this is for people to to soften up internally, start feeling each other, and to get closer together.
Absolutely.
And as a result, I mean, just in terms of corporate terms, they've raised like $100 million, right? And it hasn't been from the government. It has been through a whole bunch of GoFundMe pages that people have put in place. One lady, a comedian, she raised like $43 million from people from all around the world.
Wow.
And also through a whole bunch of different actors, etc. People are really coming together over there and starting to be more sympathetic, be more feeling and emotional. And ultimately, that's what the Creator wants, is that we start connecting together, obviously not through tragedy, obviously not through these blows, for us to, via the light, for our own volition, through the study, ultimately through
conscious development.
Correct.
Through conscious development.
Correct.
The thing with calamities in the world is it's called in the wisdom of God the path of suffering, because it develops you. It brings you to question things, but that's really not the desirable way to advance in life. Nobody wants to, scream at their kids because they're constantly naughty. Nobody wants to keep, having this, family conflicts because, the kids aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing or whatever. So same in our world as well. So as long as humanity doesn't really take this foot forward, doesn't take this leap to start developing at a conscious level, this is just really not really going to help. And this is the whole idea about going through calamities, natural disasters, all kinds of problems that humanity and the human society has been going through for basically thousands of years, is to really bring humanity to this understanding that, listen, you have to start understanding why you're living, what you're living for. And as far as calamities come to us, this is just like like you said, it's to soften up the heart, but it's from the path of suffering. So it's really advisable to any human being, to anyone, to really take a look at what our nature is, to really understand what human nature is, and to understand what the general laws of nature are and why we're so incompatible. And until we begin to reconcile our nature with the general laws of nature, to bring it to a mediation, it's really not going to help our development. It's really not going to help life either, because the wars will not stop. And also nature is hammering us. All our technological development has not brought us any happiness at all. So this lack of satisfaction all around the world, further ignited by all kinds of problems that we're going through at a global level, is going to really push and squeeze humanity. So this is why it's really, really important for anyone to study wisdom of Kabbalah, so they can really understand the flow of life. Once you understand the flow of life, you have an opportunity. A window of opportunity opens where you can actually take part in your development at a conscious level. And this participation, a voluntary participation, allows you to actually start living above the corporeal impacts that really life brings upon you. So this is really an important aspect, because on the one hand, when you live unconsciously, you're getting beaten up by life, or having lack of satisfaction, call it. Even if you have a good life, trust me, you're not happy. Simply because a person actually who has everything gets satisfaction from nothing. Because if I have everything, I have no desire for anything. So how can I be happy? The only way to be happy is actually through this human connection that we're supposed to be building between us. And that human connection brings happiness without borders. Without borders. Just like when you ask someone, when was the last time you had a great time? Most of the time, people tell you, when I was out with my friends, or when we went out with the family and did this with the friends, and so on. Why? Because human connection is remembered inside of us as an emotional sensation, And it's very powerful. And these are the memories that we remember. You know, it's not about the car that I was driving, it's not about the motorbike I was riding or whatever, but it was about, you know, the feelings that we went through when we had a good time. And that good time needs to be now built among all of us in humanity. So we can actually become considerate. We can actually become thoughtful of one another. And when we start to consider each and every one, we'll find this balance in life. Yeah. And I think the 21st century, the new generation now, we'll see as well, the new generation is a brand new generation. It will completely renew the old ways. As humanity develops as well in the 21st century, we'll see that the new generation is also looking for something new. They're not as, you know, runarounds as we were, you know. They're not running around much. They're more with their, you know, with their phones. They're more into themselves. But now we'll see with the newer generation, they'll be looking for things beyond social media, beyond the internet. This phase is also going to be fading out. Humanity will want to connect. The question is, will we do it nicely, voluntarily, or will life push us to all kinds of problems so we involuntarily, by force, have to connect to look after each other, as the example Johnny just gave? So do we have to go through all this suffering so that we have to help each other? Or why don't we just voluntarily constantly think that everybody's okay? And if we did that, the world wouldn't have any problems at all, simply because we begin to understand that the only happiness that people can actually experience is within the connection that they have between them.
I've read some studies recently, and they're talking about what type of occupations are going to be sort of dominant in the future. And, you know, they're saying about robots, etc., are going to take over a lot of manual work, etc., etc. They're saying that those occupations where there's creativity, there's compassion, the robots will never be able to overtake those types of jobs, like nurses, educators, communicators.
Where you need the human
doctors,
touch.
Exactly. I mean, we're hoping that everyone will have work in the future. There's no question about that. But you cannot program a computer,
show your feelings.
Exactly.
So are you saying that this new trend in getting married to robots is going to fade out?
I haven't heard about that one.
Okay, yeah, I've heard about people getting married with robots and stuff. It's freaky. Okay, but you know what? Things always start freaky, and then they start kind of like, we start getting used to these things. All right, so all of a sudden, somebody does it. We think, oh my God, getting married to that, okay? And then you see some other guy somewhere else doing it, and all of a sudden, everybody's getting married to some doll, you know what I mean? And it's just like crazy. However, what's really also weird about humanity is we get used to stuff. I don't know if it's good or bad. I personally don't think it's a good idea to get used to such things, because there's nothing that can really replace human connection and human touch. And you're definitely right. There's nothing, no robot is going to compensate for the sensations that can flow between people.
Right.
All right, there we go. So here's the now that we've done with the talk show, I think what we can do, we can answer this question of the lesson. What now? Okay, what do we do now? Well, so as a student of the wisdom of Kabbalah, if you wish to progress, if you want to go forward, you need to carry on developing. Okay, just like in life, there's a saying, you learn from the cradle to the grave. And such is the case here, because reality is so rich and so deep. What we want to do is continue digging into it, getting deeper into it, and really, discovering everything about us. And it's really actually fun. It's really fun, and it's really, really enlightening for a person to discover where they fit in life. It's So that's always an eye opener for most of my students. You know, they finally say, you know what, I just figured out where I fit in life, and that's great, because before I was just wandering around like, you know, somebody in the desert, or somebody, you know, just wandering around in life like you know, a leaf in the wind, not knowing, having any direction. And now I feel like, you know, I feel like I've got something where I can, you know, define about, wow, I need to attain this, and isn't that great? And there's nothing greater than really attaining the purpose of life. So what to do now? So I'm going to give you the website. Okay, this is the big secret. Not that I haven't given it to you before, but let's write it down anyway. And Shmuel will put this up on the screen for us. www.kabbalah.info. All right. Now, if you go to this website, on this website, can you also open it up here, John?
Yeah.
If you go to this website, there's a banner at the top. It says CabU. Okay, it says CabU. Right. What you can do is you can register for a course there. And the beauty about that course is it's a virtual course. All right. So you just register there. And if you want to carry on studying, you register there, enter your details, and they'll take you into the course. And you click on that as well. And then what you can do is really start moving forward with some of the great, you know, people we've got there who are ready to help you out as well. Now, that is a virtual course, but although it's a virtual course, the beauty about it is you can do it whenever you want. Okay, so you are now a free person to study whenever you like. And there are also some lessons where they do question and answer sessions. And those question and answer sessions really help you to interact with other students as well. And what they also do afterwards is they have like, meetings and congresses where new students can come and meet together, and, you know, they can really bond and connect. And all of a sudden what you have is, before you were just watching us on YouTube, now you're with a bunch of people and students who now share the same, you know, desire as you do. So you got a like-minded group of people who work together, who study together, and can actually make a few congresses and party together as well. In fact, we've got a party coming up on February.
That's right.
That's right. So we've got a, you know, congress coming up in February. It's going to be pretty big as well. So we get together all the time, all around the world as well, in the US, Europe, you know, here in the Middle East, Russia, Asia, India, Africa. We've got friends all over the place. So every now and then we get together in congresses every few months, so we can actually really connect and have a good time, and also study about the meaning of life and have a greater understanding of what our life is really all about. And that will actually develop everybody around the world. Now, the beautiful thing also, as we learned previously in the lessons, is if a group of people in the world start developing and raising their consciousness, they automatically impact everybody else as well, because we're all part of the same system. So if all of a sudden I've got a, you know, scratch on my head, you know, my whole body is kind of, you know, knowing about it. Okay, everything in my body knows that I've got a scratch in my head, and I'm doing this move to scratch it. It's not like one part of my body is independent from the other. They're all together connected, and they make one body. And that's really what humanity is all about. We're all connected in one way, with the animate level, with the vegetative level, and the still level as well. And if humanity, being, you know, at the top of the food chain, starts to develop consciously, what happens is it impacts all the other people as well. So it's like we're, you know, raising everybody's consciousness higher as we study and increase our consciousness, simply because of that connection. And you'll be able to discover that even more when you study the perception of reality. I did try to, I did give a lesson on perception of reality here in the first semester as well, but it's really worth going into the depths of it, because then you begin to understand how thoughts and ideas are actually between us and not from within us. So this is very, very important to really get your head around, and that connection between people really make us richer and more fully developed. Yes, Jonathan.
Okay, so Mutlu, there's a question from Thomas. He's asked, what if I finish the course but I can't join the group? Can I watch others work in the group with the right intention? Would that be enough?
What if I have finished the course but I can't join the group? Well, is there a specific reason why you can't join the group? Because you're a part of society. I always like to look at things pragmatically. Okay, you live in this world and you're a part of this world. So there's no reason why you can't be a part of any study group, unless there's something out of the ordinary. But generally everybody can study the wisdom of Kabbalah. You can always watch virtually as well, because it's better than nothing. That's for sure, because the more we learn and the more we try to get into the material, to discover and to change the way we see life and the way we approach life, it's obviously really beneficial for anyone to study. However, though, if you're living far away, let's say you're living, I don't know, somewhere in Timbuktu and you can't get anywhere, then virtually is how you'll need to study. Studying with us, learning with us, you can do that every day over the internet as well. It's very, very beneficial. And if you can join a group physically as well, just go in there, stick your head in there and see how you go.
Yeah. Just to add what you said, Mutlu, there's also congresses throughout the year in many, many different parts of the world.
Actually, we've got Africa coming up soon.
Absolutely, Africa. That's a virtual congress, but I know in Turkey there's been physical congresses in Turkey. There's congresses in Europe. We had one in Bulgaria a few months ago, which was terrific. Many friends came from around Europe. We have in the United States coming up. We have in Mexico coming up next year. Russia as well in different locations.
Absolutely.
So that's always available. That's always on the website, and people can go to those congresses and meet people, ask questions, get to feel different friends from different groups in different countries, and it's really nice. I've been to many congresses, and it's been the best experience.
I don't think we've missed a congress since 2003, Johnny.
No, I don't think we have, but I haven't been to every physical one.
No, you haven't, but we're still doing virtually as well.
Virtually,
so we haven't missed one since 2003. How about that?
Yep.
Okay, very nice. 17 years of congresses and many of them. Will it help you? It certainly does.
Good food, good friends, nice drink, good lectures, music.
Everything comes together.
Absolutely.
All right. It's actually a really great experience where you can feel connection between a lot of people, and it's really emotionally. How can I say? It's like really emotionally enriching.
Absolutely.
You just go through a lot of emotions which you normally don't go through, and then you understand that you can only go through emotions with other people. So this, makes you even more committed to discovering everything that's really connected in life together. So it's really, really important to, if you got the option, if you got the opportunity, do make use of it. That's great. It's nice to see we've got questions. Who's that? There's Thomas Dogela.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, dear friends and all those who watched us or who will watch us in the future, since this is on YouTube forever, unless they shut down YouTube. Okay, you never know what's going to happen in life. Anything is possible. So we wish you the best of luck in your spiritual development. We hope to see you, I don't know, in a congress or so, or if you wish to continue with us and you wish to join us, we'd love to see you as well. And if you ever do see us, tell us you watched this course and you came, because that's going to be a lot of motivation. Because I haven't seen any of your faces that are watching us. Normally I teach other groups as well, and when I do, they're on the screen, so I can really see them when I'm teaching Asian groups, or when I'm teaching the Turkish group especially. I'm also Turkish, and so I see them on the screen. So because I see them, it's like really warming for me, because we have a special connection with those guys. But if you watch these courses and you wish to carry on, and then you see us in the future somewhere at a congress or something, let us know that you watch these lessons. It'll be really interesting. I've still got, students
the main
from
congress in Israel. I don't know if you want to mention it.
Well, we've got a congress in February as well, at the end of February, that's right. So if you go to the website as well, you'll be able to get some information on that as well. So sign up to the courses if you wish to continue. Then you can also come to the congresses as well, just hang out with us. We're normally very interesting people, and you'll be glad to know that there is no boring moment when you study the wisdom of Kabbalah. That I can guarantee you. Right. Anything else you'd like to add, Jonathan? I guess that's it. So on that positive note, we really hope, we made this lesson a little light, was that we really hope that you enjoyed the course. I've certainly enjoyed giving the courses. I hope it'll be helpful for you, and hope to see you in the future. Once again, the website is www.kabbalah.info, and you can register for a course there at CABU, and meet like-minded people and carry on with your studies. All the best. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.